Well, we knew there were going to be ramifications when that memo leaked out showing that Donald Trump has been lying to the American people, that his own intelligence community, in a memo from April, told Tulsi Gabbard, the head of his national intelligence, that there is no link between the Maduro regime and Tren de Aragua, the terrorist gang, and Donald Trump needed there to be a link in order to support his use of the Alien Enemies Act to go after and repel a predatory incursion of the Tren de Aragua gang because they're working in cahoots with the Maduro regime in Venezuela, until we got the declassified memo, which we posted on Legal AF and on the Substack, which showed there was no link and no one in Donald Trump's intelligence community thought so. Well, we have the ramifications of that. The last shoe is dropped. The domino has fallen. Tulsi Gabbard, ordered by Donald Trump, has fired the people that wrote the memo. That'll do it. That'll fix it. Fire the people who are telling the truth and then do it in the name of we're going to get rid of the weaponization of the intelligence community by weaponizing it and firing the people responsible. I'm Michael Popok. I'm fired up here on Legal AF. Tulsi Gabbard, unqualified, obscenely to be our head of national intelligence. 14 different intelligence agencies report to her. Donald Trump has been heard lately to be rumbling that he doesn't need a director of national intelligence. In other words, what is her function? Now we know what it is. It's when Donald Trump doesn't like something, he has a ready fall guy or fall girl, fall gal, and she will turn around and fire everybody because he doesn't like the fact, Trump doesn't like the fact that Tulsi Gabbard had the memo created in the first place. Aren't you glad you're on Legal AF? We're at the intersection of law and politics where we can talk about these things. So you might have woken up to Tulsi Gabbard fires officials who released memo contradicting Trump's Venezuela gang claims. It's deeper than that. When Donald Trump issued the proclamation to allow him to use the Alien Enemies Act to try to summarily deport and remove people without due process, he claimed, without any support, in fact, counter support, counter facts from his own intelligence community, that the Maduro regime in Venezuela was in bed with a criminal gang called Tren de Aragua that has been in this country for decades, decentralized. Yes, they lead criminal conduct. They do criminal conduct in the United States. They commit crimes, I guess is the right way of putting that. But that doesn't mean they're akin to a military invasion, which is required under the Alien Enemies Act. He declared them a foreign terrorist organization because he said they were closely linked to the Maduro regime. And the fact that the Maduro regime was using Tren de Aragua, TDA, as a proxy to conduct a war to destabilize the United States, giving Donald Trump the right to proclaim war back. Except for one little problem. For whatever reason, Tulsi Gabbard decided that she wanted to hear from her intelligence community, her national intelligence officers, and had them prepare a memo. And we now, because a group called Freedom of Information Act Foundation filed a Freedom of Information Act request, a FOIA request, and ultimately was given a copy, not that redacted, of the memo. And when we saw that memo, when we reported on that memo, we said, uh-oh, this is going to be used in all the courts to undermine the Alien Enemies Act, and Donald Trump can't blame his favorite foils, Joe Biden or Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton, because the memo is dated April 5th of this year. Okay. And it was created at the direction of his own national intelligence director. Now I can see why Donald Trump is seriously considering firing Tulsi Gabbard and disbanding the 14 different intelligence agencies that report to her. But let me read to you first from the memo, and I'm going to post it on the Legal AF Substack. You can find it there as well. But here's the memo. And it's on a very fancy letterhead. National Intelligence Council, the NIC, those are the two people that just got fired. Sense of the Community memo. It's called the Sense of the Community. The title under it, April 7th, 2025, Venezuela, Examining Regime Ties to Tren de Aragua. Okay, let's do that. Okay. This is a month after Donald Trump declared or proclaimed war against Venezuela. And if you go into, this is my favorite heading. Maduro regime probably not directing TDA, Tren de Aragua activities. That right there, that's the shiv. That's the killer for Donald Trump's argument. And this is what the entire intelligence community under Tulsi Gabbard concluded. While Venezuela's permissive environment enables TDA to operate, the Maduro regime probably does not have a policy of cooperating with TDA and is not directing TDA movement to and operations in the United States. Let me repeat that. The conclusion of Donald Trump's own intelligence community is that TDA is the Maduro regime is not directing TDA movement to and operations in the United States. And they give the reasons why. They say, while the FBI, that's now headed by Kash Patel, some analysts agree with the above. While FBI analysts agree with that assessment, they assess some Venezuelan government officials facilitate TDA members' migration from Venezuela to the United States and use members as proxies in other countries. But they agree with the ultimate conclusion that the Maduro regime does not control TDA, and TDA does not control the Maduro regime. And that is their ultimate conclusion in this 6-page memorandum. Well, Donald Trump hated every part of the 6-page memorandum. And he directed Tulsi Gabbard, a little late, to fire the people responsible for the memo. See, they become the enemies of the state. You know, when they're telling the truth to the American people and it undermines the lies that Donald Trump tells, and this happens all the time, Donald Trump makes somebody's head roll. When that poor Department of Justice lawyer told the truth to Judge Boasberg, that he didn't think the plane should have been sent to El Salvador either, that he's asked his client to turn them around, and to Judge Zinnes, when he told Judge Zinnes that he didn't think, he knew that ICE was aware that Abrego Garcia had an order of protection to stop him from being sent to El Salvador, and they sent him there anyway, and he was working to try to get him back. That guy got fired almost immediately by Todd Blanche and Pam Bondi in the Department of Justice. Now, who's got canned now? Mike Collins was serving as the acting chair of the National Intelligence Council, who wrote that memo. He was dismissed, and so was his deputy, Maria Langen-Rykoff. They had more than 25 years of intelligence experience. According to Gabbard, however, she's working alongside Donald Trump, this is her statement, to end the weaponization and politicization of the intelligence community. And so she fired them. On Twitter and X, Gabbard's chief of staff, Alexa Henning, said that those two people that she just fired were Biden holdovers and were removed for politicizing intelligence. I don't know what they're talking about. She asked the National Intelligence Council to put together a memo. She just didn't like the results of the memo. And of course, lawyers for the plaintiffs, representing like the ACLU and others, are using that memo against Donald Trump. So he wants to bury it by firing these people. All he's done now is created these whistleblower type people who are now free to go to the press. We'll try to get them on Legal AF to talk to us as well. I'll invite him right now. You want to come on Legal AF and talk to us about your memo and why you stand behind it and why you were fired because you told the truth? This would be a good place to do it, don't you think? Now, separately, there's reporting that Tulsi Gabbard is looking for meaning in her life. In other words, she's trying to justify her existence to Donald Trump because he doesn't understand why we have a national intelligence director instead of just a CIA director. See, there used to be intelligence operations across multiple agencies, and the lead spy master, if you will, for the United States has always been the head of the CIA. But after 9/11, when we realized that the intelligence community was not sharing information with each other, they were siloed, there were walls between them. Post 9/11, in the Bush era and beyond, they created this new directorate, the Director of National Intelligence, to which all of the 14 or so intelligence agencies, including the CIA, ultimately reports, although the CIA really, with John Ratcliffe, is really out there on their own. I don't think they're very respectful of Tulsi Gabbard, and she's not qualified to run that directorate anyway. And so we have this split screen of Tulsi Gabbard trying to justify her existence. She gets into the doghouse with Donald Trump, obviously, by having this memo that she orders, right? She asks for, she requests, it comes out, they then bury it internally because it's terrible for the position that Trump is taking, because that's a lie. And Donald Trump doesn't like to be called out for a lie. And then when it has to get declassified and turned over, and I'm sure the person that made that decision is fired as well, now Donald Trump wants those people's head to roll who wrote that memo. They wrote it on Tulsi Gabbard's recommendation. Now, we see this all the time with the Trump administration, right? In public, they talk about weaponization and bashing, talk tough about not bringing back Armando Abrego Garcia back to the United States. We'll never see him again. He'll never be on U.S. soil. Privately, in secret, with secret filings to the courts, they sing a different tune. They talk about we're working on the diplomacy to try to bring Armando Abrego Garcia back, which begs the question, how feckless, how weak is Donald Trump that he can't even get the president of a little tiny island called El Salvador? He can't get that petty dictator to return one prisoner? He's supposed to be the leader of the free world? He's the leader of the last great superpower? I don't think so. So we'll continue to follow the fallout. As soon as we saw it a week or so ago, we said heads are going to roll, and now they've rolled, and we've reported on them right here on Legal AF. I'm glad you're here. Hit the subscribe button. We've got a great opportunity to get together again later this afternoon, or later this morning, 10 a.m. Eastern time here on Legal AF. Set your reminders, set your alarms. Join us for the live oral argument at the United States Supreme Court about birthright citizenship and whether judges have the power to issue nationwide injunctions. It's a twofer at the United States Supreme Court, and it's hard to believe, but it's the first oral argument about a Trump policy at the United States Supreme Court. Everything else has been by emergency application and by brief order. This is the real oral argument. It's the last of the term. We may see another one based on emergency applications, depending upon their topic over the course of the summer. But this is really it. And then they fly off after the oral argument and go on vacation. And then we wait for the remaining 20 or 30 opinions that are still in the pipeline and are delayed. Oral arguments are really important teaching methods. I'll be in the chat with you during it. Dina Dahl will be with me for commentary. We'll know right away whether Donald Trump has lost or won this United States Supreme Court, whether he can count to 5 and get 5 votes. We'll know it within the first half an hour. Make sure you're there for it. And if you can't catch it, I understand it's 10 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. If you can't catch it then, we keep it up there. We'll put it over on the Legal AF Substack as well. And until my next report, I'm Michael Popok. I'm Michael Popok, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of Midas Touch's Legal AF and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the Popok Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Popok Firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years, so my own law firm organically building on my Legal AF work just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states known as big auto injury attorneys who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Popok Firm today at 1-877-POPOK-AF or by visiting my website at www.thepopokfirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popok Firm. fighting for your justice every step of the way.